What's up, curious youngsters? If we're always wasting time doing useless things or watching millions of videos and ending up in those weird YouTube recommendations, why not spend a few minutes on Senor Curiosity instead? Learning 30 totally epic facts that you'll forget in 10 minutes, but these aren't just any facts, they're going to leave you completely amazed. For this and much more, here are 30 things you didn't know 5 minutes ago. Every year, the robotics industry is taking on more tasks and fields. And for example, in Paris, the Paxi Pizzeria was recently opened, a pizzeria with a rather unique pizza chef. This robot has the ability to prepare 80 pizzas per hour, and not only does it cook the pizza, but it also puts it in its box and cuts it into slices right in front of the customers. Apologizing can be quite uncomfortable, and to offer an alternative in Japan, there are apology agencies where you can hire experts to apologize on someone's behalf. These professionals, known as apologizers, are trained for all kinds of situations, and they can do us a big favor. Why are you so weird, Japan? Why? Among all the birds that live on the African continent, the ostrich stands out as the largest, reaching up to 3 meters in height. And although it can't fly, it runs at incredible speeds thanks to a detail in the design of its legs, which gives it more speed. And did you know that this bird is the only one in the world that has only 2 toes, while the rest usually have about 4? We know that flowers exist thanks to pollination, and plants have different strategies to attract the creatures that carry out this process. And one of the most skilled at this is the bumblebee orchid, a flower that looks similar to these insects and also has a scent similar to their pheromones, attracting them in an irresistible way. If you like Ferraris and roller coasters, then you should visit Ferrari World. This amusement park in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, is the only one in the world dedicated solely to this classic company, and it also features the fastest roller coaster in the world, simulating a Formula One car. The first car models had some features that were a bit strange, but that used to be considered quite practical. For example, in 1959, the Volkswagen Beetle had the option to install a coffee maker, and the good thing was that it came with porcelain cups with a magnetic base, so they wouldn't fall off the holder when the car was moving. That's really interesting, my friend. We know that unless we work in construction, it's practically impossible for us to drive a crane or an excavator. But in Las Vegas, in the United States, there's an alternative for anyone who wants to try it. Because at the Dick D's theme park, you can drive several models of these vehicles and also dig or move heavy objects. If we think about fortune cookies, we probably associate them with Chinese culture. But did you know that this product was actually mass-produced in the United States at the beginning of the 20th century? Most of the movies we know come from Hollywood, since the main film studios were founded there. Early in the industry, the first films had only 1 copy, and if damaged, they couldn't be recovered. And that's why more than 90% of the films made before 1929 are considered lost forever. Seahorses, or hippocampi, are one of the most adorable sea creatures we can find underwater. Although because of their small size, they're not so easy to spot. And did you know that the smallest seahorse in existence is the same size as a grain of rice? This little animal lives on the coast of Tokyo, in Japan. It's no more than 15 millimeters long, and it's known as the Japanese pygmy seahorse. We know that many plants are toxic if we eat them, but some are so dangerous that just smelling them can harm us. And a great example of this is the species Progmantia, known as angel's trumpet, because if you inhale its scent, it can cause difficulty breathing and effects on the nervous system, like hallucinations and sleep paralysis. Stay away from the plants, Timmy. We know that mosquitoes can feed on the blood of different animals, including humans, but there is another flying insect that has this habit. We're talking about the vampire moth, a small moth that lives in Asia and parts of Europe, which feeds on blood. Luckily, even with its rather intimidating appearance, its bite does not pose a danger. When we go to the movies, before the show starts, we can see previews of upcoming releases, known as trailers. But did you know that in the early days of movie theaters, these appeared at the end? Oh, yes. But since people didn't stay to watch them, they decided it was better to show them in the minutes before the movie started. If you like exotic festivals, you should visit South Korea, since this country celebrates the Boryong Mud Festival every year, a super fun event where for 10 days you can join millions of people in different games and activities, including the unusual sport of mud wrestling. We know that deserts hardly get any rain, and for nearby cities this can be a real problem. Fortunately, in the United Arab Emirates, technology has enabled artificial rainfall as a solution. In this process, clouds are seeded with drones that generate electrical discharges, which ends up making water available in the regions that need it most. Don't worry, in nature, what is it? The modern Olympic Games offer us the best of sports and also classic scenes, like the Olympic torch ceremonies or the medal presentations. And did you know that the Tokyo 2020 edition was the first to make these medals with recycled materials, since these were made with components from unused electronic devices that were collected in a national campaign? Jellyfish are one of the oldest organisms on the planet, as they have lived in the seas for more than 500 million years. And one of their most surprising characteristics is the large size they can reach. For example, the Rhizostoma species can weigh over 40 kilos and measure 3 meters long. But luckily, despite being giant, its sting is not dangerous to humans. In the past, many cities were built like huge fortresses to prevent them from being invaded. And a good example of this is the Jungira Fort in India. Did you know that this city was never conquered? Because inside it had 2 large lakes that allowed it to supply itself without having to go out at all. Some towns can be more interesting than others. And for example, in Denmark, an architect had the curious idea to design a neighborhood in the city of Brøndby Garden City with this very interesting design. The idea is that the neighborhood, by having a circular shape and triangular plots, makes it so that neighbors are obliged to interact and get along with each other. Many prehistoric animals were much larger than the ones we know today. And did you know that a relative of the armadillo was the same size as a Volkswagen Beetle car? Yes, this creature called Glyptodon lived during the Pleistocene and could reach up to 4 meters tall. Throughout our lives, we have learned that the Egyptians liked to mummify their kings and important figures. But if there's something that can surprise us even more, it's the huge number of animals and different objects that were mummified so they could continue living with their pharaoh in the afterlife. From simple dogs to snakes, monkeys, and goats, everything could be mummified, often with a rather intimidating appearance. If heights make you uneasy, you shouldn't visit Mount Thor. This mountain in Canada has the greatest vertical drop on Earth, with no less than 1,250 meters. And the most incredible thing is that it has an average angle of 105 degrees. That means the slope is even steeper than any known precipice. When it comes to luxury cars with a distinctive design, we're talking about Cadillac. Did you know the company's name honors the founder of Detroit in the United States? This brand, founded in 1902, had the curious idea of taking its name from the founder, Antoine de la Delamotte Cadillac. Let's see if you knew that, my friend. Abandoned places have that dose of mystery that attracts many visitors. And a great example of this was the UFO neighborhood of Shanxi in Taiwan, a vacation complex from the late 70s that was left unfinished. And although it was known as the ruins of the future because of its flying saucer-shaped design, it was completely demolished in 2010. We know that India stands out for its huge temples and palaces, but this country also has an amazing construction over the sea, known as the Bandra-Worli Sea Link Bridge. For the construction of this incredible feat of engineering, so much steel wire was used that it would be enough to go around the Earth. Fortunately, since its 2010 inauguration, Mumbai's traffic has improved significantly. Nowadays, construction has evolved so much that it's possible to put up a giant building in just a few weeks. But in France, a group of people who are fans of medieval technology decided to do an experiment, and they started building a castle using the same methods that were used in construction in the 12th century under the name Guédelon Castle. Great hobby, my French friends. Dolphins are known for their flawless swimming and wave-jumping technique. It's no coincidence these creatures are the most active ocean mammals and also sleep the least. And maybe it's because their breathing is voluntary, which means they only breathe if they're awake. That's why they rest with one eye open, to stay alert and come up for air from time to time. Among the large number of transactions that take place on eBay nowadays, every now and then a totally unusual deal appears. For example, in 2006, an Australian tried to sell New Zealand. The auction price for that country started to rise until it surpassed $3,000, until the company realized what was happening and removed the offer from the site. Animals that are hunters use different techniques to feed themselves, but one of the most curious is the one used by a small marine crustacean. We're talking about the purple mantis shrimp, a species that, when it attacks, strikes with its front claws at 80 kilometers per hour, a blow so powerful that it can break the shells of other animals and even aquarium glass. Yes, let's move on to the next surprising fact. Many animals have a very powerful sense of smell which helps them hunt and find their way. And did you know there's a men's perfume that big cats like tigers and leopards love? We're talking about Calvin Klein's cologne, Obsession for Men. Yes, it's not a joke. Even documentary filmmakers often use this fragrance to attract these wild animals to the cameras.